spoilers for Hollow Knight Silksong. And if you haven't finished the game yet, good luck. Now, as of this recording, I have completed the game in about 30 something hours. And I can only say one thing. Hollow Knight Silksong is a great game. Team Cherry couldn't have done a better job with the music, to the art, to some of the boss fights, to the design, the voice acting. All of it fits the Hollow Knight world perfectly. But that doesn't mean it's not without flaw. Silksong is crazy hard. The enemies hit for damage, the runbacks to boss rooms are disgustingly long, collecting beads feels nearly impossible, the damn pogo mechanic was overhauled, making it really frustrating to use, but that is what people want me to say. I think the game is fine as it is. Yes, it's difficult, but then again, most people that are playing this game have mastered Hollow Knight. And guess what? The name of the game is literally Hollow Knight Silksong. You're supposed to play it after Hollow Knight. Keep in mind, Hollow Knight was not an easy game either. And according to Steam's achievement list, only 20% of players that ever purchased the game actually finished the game. Hell, most of the players didn't even get past the Mantis Lords, and that's the first fourth of the game. And apparently the game is so difficult that we ended up modding Silksong to only take 1 mask of damage. And as always, Hornet said it best during the fight that most people never even got to. Now, ignoring the default pogo, the combat felt really good. And even if you don't like the default build, the game gives you a ton of options to choose from that are all scattered across the map. A personal favorite one of mine that I wasn't able to use throughout most of the game was the Mark of the Beast. With this mark on, some of the boss fights literally felt like an anime fight, and I cannot emphasize how funny it is to go band for band with a giant monster when you're just this little ninja. It's kind of funny. However, the down pogo arc on this thing is horrendous. Like, if you thought Hornet's default down pogo was terrible, this one is, it just doesn't make sense to me how it works. Like, I can never figure it out. Now onto Hornet's like offhand abilities or whatever. I didn't get to collect that many. I did find the caltrops and even her signature weapon from when you fight her in the first game, but I can't really speak much about them since I didn't really use them all that much throughout the run. But I do know that there's a gun somewhere throughout the map, and I just find that hilarious. So 10 out of 10 game for me, man. Now the charm system in this game is similar but different from Hollow Knight because Hornet doesn't really emphasize on them as much. You're kind of more encouraged to just use her little caltrops or her little traps instead of actually getting like a longer nail or anything. That's what the marks are for. So I can't really speak much about the charms. However, I did end up making a man lose all of his money gambling, and they ended up giving me a charm that literally negates damage or has a chance to. 10 out of 10 game. No, in my opinion, the movement just felt flat out better than it ever did in Hollow Knight. Hornet is a lot faster. A lot nimbler. She can mantle. It just feels better to move as Hornet than the Knight ever did. Now I will say that the double jump was a little clunky at times, but in combination with her little poofy glide, you could really stall in the air, and it literally made some boss fights like completely cheesable. Playing as Hornet literally feels like you have Dash Master, the charm from Hollow Knight, on the entire time, and it just feels better. Plus, we also got access to the sprint, which lets us get this absolutely beautiful animation out of Hornet, so the Knight can't do that, is all I'll say. The Knight can't do that. Silksong realistically only has 2 types of boss fights. Gauntlets and an actual big bad. Now the gauntlets, that being the rooms that the game locks you in and you have to fight multiple waves of enemies, those are relatively fun for me because throughout Silksong, most of your fights are really only 1v1s or skipping enemies, as I like to do. Now for me, the only time I really struggled with these gauntlets is when they were summoning a ton of the little flying bugs, and this guy in particular, this little bug's flight pattern and projectile trajectory pisses me off more than it should have. Now onto the actual boss fights. There's 2 ways the boss fights goes. Either you get crammed in a corner and immediately explode, and then you have to make this really annoying walk back to some of the bosses. Like, come on. Like, just look at this. This is at 10x speed. Now, in Silksong, a lot of the boss fights felt more like a dance partner to Hornet than an actual enemy. They all had these really unique rhythms that you kind of had to get into, whereas in Hollow Knight, you can just kind of sit there and bash someone to death. Well, in this one, you really had to like weave your way in and out. To put it simply, a lot of the fights just felt smooth. Now, I don't know that much about music tracks, I'm gonna keep it real. However, the music for Silksong specifically only really helps add ambience to the locations. The boss fight music tracks, in my opinion, aren't the best. But then again, I'm here for the boss fights, not really the music, so moving on. Overall, do I think you should play Silksong? No, if you haven't played Hollow Knight, you will probably not enjoy it as much. But if you have, I say absolutely. There's no reason you shouldn't play it if you have at least played Hollow Knight and at least finished Hollow Knight. And we can't forget the fact that it's a AAA game for $20 damn. My final rating on the game, based on everything I just yapped about, solid 8 to 9 out of 10. Just because I fucking hate this bug.